Good afternoon, everybody. Big Mike back here with you once again. Welcome back to Big Mike Talks, where today I'm going to be talking about the week that was in pro wrestling. And honestly, it was a pretty nutty week. Going to cover NWA Power, the finale for Samhain Part 3, and AEW Dynamite, which, yeah, we're going to get up to some stuff. So we're going to start off with NWA Power, the finale for the Samhain special tapings. We start off with the NWA Tag Team titles on the line as BFT take on the Immortals. And BFT pretty much attacks the Immortals right at the bell. They have the advantage for at least a little while, after a whiff on a shoulder tackle by Damage. Then we cut to commercial and a Carson Drake / Crew promo. So it's both Drake, Carson, and Lockjaw, the Slime Balls, Slade, and Mike Mondo. So they're all gathered backstage, with Carson pretty much saying, look, this team needs a name. We gotta come up with something. There's all this money on the table. Then, I think it was one of the Slime Balls said, the Slime Balls of Fire, which got a groan from the rest of the team. And Mike Mondo says, how about the gut check of pain? Then Drake takes a look over his shoulder, says, I got someone who has a name. So then they kind of take a few steps back where Aaron Stevens is sitting, their manager. And he says, well, here we are, a whole bunch of champions, including the Slime Balls. We need a proper name. Let me introduce the Federation of Champions. Then one of the Slime Balls gets in his ear. He has a groan, says, let me introduce the Federation of Champions and the Slime Balls. So, yeah, I don't know if this is going to be... That's an interesting name. The FEC. We'll see what happens with, t-shirts and merchandise and stuff, but I'm glad this crew has a name now. And we'll see what happens going forward. Although there was no mention of the big surprise coming. So, maybe that's coming soon. And then we go to a different part of backstage, coming back from commercial. We see Thrillbilly Silas Mason enter the scene, pick up his NWA World title, looks to the camera, says, time's up, Tom. I'm coming to get ya. And then just yells at the camera and leaves. Short, sweet, to the point. Love it. So then we go back to the match. Some decent back and forth. Damage with a big spear kind of near the end. Super kick, knee. Goes for a Death Valley driver. That gets blocked. Kratos with an immortality, with a Pele kick, gets Odinson in. They hit the immortality for the win. So, yeah, this was a very rushed finish, I think. I don't know if anyone got hurt there, but I feel like something happened. Now, was it an entertaining match? Sure, but something was off, and I don't know what it is. If there's anyone injured from this match, I hope they're okay, but I don't want to speculate. Then we get some highlights of hype video for Shotzi Blackheart versus Natalia Markova, which is coming up. We then get a replay of Pretty Empowered versus Country Gentlemen from last week, which was a pretty entertaining match. Then we go to a different part of backstage for a promo from Pretty Empowered, saying, Country Gentlemen, you beat us 2 weeks ago, but can you beat us without your Papa Joe Kazana? You may have TVMA in your corner, but they aren't tag wrestlers. And with the Hex back, thank God we have a real team to face going forward. So, yeah, definitely, Page Sisters definitely have a goal in mind. We'll see what happens from there, because I think the Pages might be breaking up pretty soon. Then we go to a highlight reel from the Holy Grail Slime Balls match from, I think that was 3 weeks ago, maybe more. Nice little highlight reel. Then we get Holy Grail kind of promo. It was more of a roast of their partner from that match. With EC3 saying, look, Pretty Boy Smooth had it. We don't deal with mistakes. It doesn't matter what set of tag titles. We don't care our opponents. But Immortals, we're going to put that name to the test. So the Holy Grail definitely has a target. We'll see what happens from here. So next up, a very interesting matchup. First I've seen of it, but apparently they had a match like 8 or so years ago. It's Shotzi Blackheart taking on Natalia Markova for the NWA Women's title. And this kind of started out a little bit more technical than I would have thought. But as soon as Shotzi slapped the taste out of Markova's mouth, it was on. Big old Lou Thesz press. Bunch of elbows. A big old bulldog and a leg drop for a 2 count. And honestly, this was a great back and forth bout. Both these two looked great. Then after a beautiful destruction kick and a DDT, which Natalia bringing back the DDT as a finisher. I love it. Retaining her title. So, yeah, we'll see what goes on from here. We then get a Tom Latimer versus Thrillbilly Silas Mason hype video, which was very well produced. Then we got highlights from Hammerstone versus Stratford Murdoch from, I want to say that was last week. That could have been 2 weeks ago. Then we cut to a Trevor Murdoch promo saying, I hope they remember I'm a 2-time World Heavyweight Champion. I see nothing but a slime ball champ. And yet I see Tom gets another shot. Why not me? Why can't I be a 3-time heavyweight champion? And yeah, that's definitely going to be interesting to see going forward. But now we make it to our main event of Samhain, the entire special, and it's for the NWA World Heavyweight title, as Thrillbilly Silas Mason defends against Tom Latimer, or so we thought. Because, well, Mason came out first, which I thought was very strange. Usually it's the champion that comes out last, but I understand the assignment, because as Latimer was making his entrance, getting ready to get in the ring, out comes Matt Cardona and attacks him during his entrance. He gets in the ring. He's yelling for William Patrick Corgan to give him the title match. William Patrick Corgan comes out. He says, alright. Gives him the match. And it's a street fight. So, yeah, this was definitely unexpected. But with Matt Cardona now going back to the WWE, I was wondering how they were going to deal with that here. And, yeah, it seems like this is how we're dealing with it. And at first we do get a basic lockup, But Thrillbilly completely overpowers Mark Cardona. Get a little outside in situation. And then this was just a whole ton of fun. A lot of really good back and forth. At one point you had Thrillbilly calling out for the Southern Six. Only Alex Taylor came out, which is interesting. Taylor holds Cardona. Thrillbilly goes for the chair shot. Actually, no, it's actually reversed. Thrillbilly is holding Cardona. Taylor's going for the chair shot. Cardona moves. And Taylor hits the Thrillbilly. And at that point, we go to another commercial break where we get a dueling promo between El Dragon Nihon and Mims, setting up a rematch for them in the future, which I am totally for. We then get the highlights from the NWA Tag Team title match from earlier in the evening. Then we get a promo from the Immortals, where Kratos asks Odinson, what the heck, who is next? Who are his next victims? In walks Gallows and Anderson, the Good Brothers, where they say, well, we're not here to fight. We're here to congratulate you on your recent defense. And hope the next time we see you, it's for the tag team titles. So Kratos responds, look, when we first heard you were coming in, we were all hyped up. But in this match, will it be just too sweet? And the two teams too sweet? So we're getting that match in the near future, and I'm hyped for it. That's going to be a great little matchup. We go back to the match, and it's just more of the same. After a big old clothesline by the Thrillbilly, out comes Eric Smalls, who stops Cardona from using a chair. Then Cardona and Smalls fist bump. It looks like Cardona is trying to chase Smalls. Smalls goes through the legs of Cardona, stops right in front of Silas Mason. Silas is about to go after Cardona. Smalls with a low blow to Thrillbilly. He and Cardona then fist bump. Then as Cardona is about to take advantage, low blow to Cardona. So then Smalls leaves, and they get pretty much right back to it. After a big old power slam by the Thrillbilly, the ref gets pulled out of the ring as Trevor Murdoch comes out, pulls out the ref. We go back in the ring, Cardona with a DDT and then a spine buster, as the ref throws both Knox and Murdoch out of the match. Thrillbilly goes for a big splash in the corner on Cardona. Cardona pulls the referee in the way. He eats that. Thrillbilly goes for a chokeslam. That gets blocked. Cardona goes for a radio silence. That gets caught into a powerbomb for a 2 count. Cardona with some chair shots. Hits the radio silence for a 2. As Tom Latimer gets in the ring and just completely wallops Matt Cardona. Tom Latimer then leaves the ring. Mason with the thrill ride, but doesn't go for the pin. Instead, locks in a sleeper hold to get the submission win. Not a pass out. Cardona actually tapped. So, yeah. I'm going to say this. This was a nice little salutations to Matt Cardona, as he's pretty much back in the Federation right now. Post-match, Mason gets in Cardona's face. Then, at that point, Tom Latimer attacks Thrillbilly post-match. So, yeah, a little sad we're not getting Latimer Thrillbilly this week, But that is going to be the long-term plan. I'm not sure exactly when we're going to see it, but I do know we're going to see it. And then we're also going to see some other matchups, including maybe Trevor Murdoch. We got, probably not Eric Smalls. I'm surprised Hammerstone didn't get involved, but he's off doing some cool things on his own. But, yeah, there's definitely worthy challengers for the Thrillbilly. And I am excited to see who steps up next. My fingers crossed for an eventual match between Thrillbilly and Hammerstone. That match is going to be golden, baby. So that was the finale for Samhain. Pretty darn entertaining show. Main event definitely felt like the last couple of WrestleManias where everyone is running in. But honestly, it was pretty darn entertaining. Gonna be interested to see what happens moving forward. Then we finish up today with a little AEW Dynamite. And we start off with Kenny Omega versus Rocky Romero. And this match was super quick. I'm not going to say it was a squash match, but it definitely felt like an enhancement match. Although Rocky did get some good stuff in, hitting the rewind kick, but eventually Kenny hits a V-trigger on him, gets a big old suplex, another V-trigger in the ropes, and then the one-winged angel to put away Rocky. Then we go post-match. Tony Schiavone's in the ring for an in-ring interview, where Omega says, "I hate repeating myself, but I haven't felt this good in years." And AEW is supposed to be where the best wrestle. It doesn't matter who you are or what title you have. I'll become the next World Heavyweight Champion. This brings out Hangman Adam Page. They have a little face-off. Page gets a mic. He says, "Kenny, you look good. After all these years, I'd rather fight beside you than against you. But looking up beyond Joe and the Ops, I was looking to defend my heavyweight title against you. But after a low blow, I lost. I'm sorry to say, Kenny, you won't be the next champion. Neither is going to be Andrade or Swerve. The next World Heavyweight Champion is Hangman Adam Page." This brings out Swerve, and he gets an immediate reaction. Grabs a microphone and says, "You guys sound like a broken record out here. Ever since I came back to AEW, I have remained undefeated," which is very interesting. "I got as much of a claim as anyone to the AEW World title. I'm going to come back and win the title. I don't care who I have to go through to get what I want. And it could be against anybody." Then Kenny Omega replies, "I fancy myself a student of reading the room. As much as you want the belt, it sounds like you also want to fight." Then Swerve kind of has a short reply, "More than you know." This brings out, of course, Don Callis. He says, "Swerve, I heard you're talking you're undefeated. Andrade tonight is going to end that streak. And after that, Andrade is coming for Kenny. And he's got something special for you. And we're just here to remind you that the Callis family runs this show." So Kenny replies saying, "Funny, Don. What my opponents should have to be worried about, you should worry about yourself." So then Kenny drops the mic and just chases Callis backstage to end the segment. A very weird segment, but also very interesting, because we are getting a kind of timeline to figure out the next number one contender, in which apparently it's going to go like this. So the winner of tonight's main event, which is Swerve versus Andrade, is going to face Kenny Omega next week. The winner of that is going to move on to a number one contenders match in Australia. Then after that, for Revolution, the winner of that is going to go to Revolution to be number one contender for the world title. It's definitely a bit complicated. A little bit complicated, but I do understand. And it's not really a tournament, but it's kind of tournament-esque, if that makes any sense. Anyway, then we get a Statlander Thekla hype video in which we hear if the rest of the Triangle of Madness doesn't interfere in this match that's coming later, they'll get a tag team title shot against the Babes of Wrath. So that's interesting to keep in mind. But next up, we got an Continental title eliminator match. We got Jon Moxley taking on the inevitable Ace Austin. Now, Ace was meant to tag with Austin Gunn on Collision the week prior, but due to travel restrictions due to the snow, he wasn't able to make it, so Austin teamed with his dad, Billy. So this is kind of a makeup match, and Ace really took advantage of this. This was a great technical bout, although Ace did do some of his high-flying stuff. But end of the day, after Ace Austin attempts to fold, it gets caught with a cutter by Moxley, and then a Death Rider to finish off the match. But that isn't where this ends, as right out is Konosuke Takeshita. I almost completely flubbed that name. He gets in the face of Moxley, then he kind of rolls out of the ring. He goes up the ramp, still facing the ring, as from behind Moxley come Doyle and Davis, who attack Moxley from behind. Here's what's going to be interesting. I like all of that. The match was absolutely great. And the ending, here's my issue. That sequence with Davis and Doyle attacking Moxley should have led to FTR coming out and the tag title match beginning here to have a little continuity with the show. Instead, what we get is the TNT title match, as we got El Clone challenging Mark Briscoe. And, this match was a whole lot of fun. Some high flying from El Clone, but not as much as you think. El Clone is definitely more of a technical wrestler, and he's kind of living the gimmick, because after every, stomp in the corner, he kind of just does this little, glitchy head tilt thing, which is super good. Then we get a Froggy Bow into a J Driller, in which it did look like Mark Briscoe hit it clean, but then El Clone apparently catches himself and kips up, which, honestly, that was nuts. So we get a little bit more of a back and forth. We had El Clone going for the GTS, but Mark Briscoe blocks it, hits a roll-up for the win. And honestly, that was a very fun, entertaining matchup. Here's what's interesting post-match. So Mark Briscoe gets on the microphone and says, "Hell yeah, told you I'm not doing any ducking." I'm going to be defending this title on Saturday on Collision. I'm going to bring back the TNT Open Challenge. But here's the caveat. No one from the Don Callis family can challenge because I'm tired of them. And before Briscoe can go any further, lights go out. And then we hear some like heavy breathing. A heartbeat going. Boom, 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 boom. Comes up on the Tron. Person comes out under darkness. And then the words Psycho Killer end up on the screen. Now, I didn't see Psycho at first because apparently I'm blind in one eye. But I thought this was Cross at first. Karrion Kross. But then the lights came on. It's Tommaso Ciampa. And I'm going to say this. I was very surprised he came in so soon after his WWE contract expired. But, ooh, boy, this is going to be a fun one. So Ciampa gets in the ring. They have a little face-off. They jaw for a little bit. Then Ciampa just kisses Briscoe on the cheek, which is very, very interesting. So then we go to the back for a Kyle Fletcher interview. And then Okada walks in, interrupts almost immediately, says, I told Don I needed to apologize to you. I used the screwdriver at All In just because I wanted to win. I wanted to face you in the Continental Classic Finals, but I wanted to say I'm sorry. So Fletcher recoils, says, I was really mad at you at that point, but it takes a real man to admit you're wrong. I accept your apology. So this is going to play into the dynamic of the Fletcher Takeshita situation, but we're going to wait on that for a second, because honestly, I'm going to say this. The whole Takeshita Don Callis family situation, I think, is the most interesting story going on in AEW, and seeing the characters interact like this, it's interesting. It's good. I want to see more of stuff like this. So anyway, we go back to the ring for an MJF promo. And saying, I gotta be honest. He comes out, he says, I gotta be honest. Why are we working in a dump like this? So at that point, he gets a lot of boos. Before he can continue, Brody King comes out, and he's wearing the plainest blue t-shirt I have ever seen. MJF says, cut the music. Brody King's music cuts out. He gets in the ring. The crowd is just going, hurrah, 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 which is... Why did that sound like Titus O'Neil? Anyway. So, MJF continues, I thought you listened to reason to me last week, but you're just as big as you are stupid. So, we gonna be professional now? Listen, Bark Boy, I made it clear last week, if you want a shot, you need to beat someone that matters. And from what I've seen, you're nothing but a follower. You followed Malachi Black, and it terrified me how you turned the lights on and off, which, that's a great line. You followed Buddy Matthews, by the most intimidating name in pro wrestling. By the way, how's his ankle? Which definitely got a big reaction from the crowd. And now you follow a complete loser in Bandito. And hey, you know what? You should follow me. I'll pay you. I could use a monster like you. But we need to fix your look first. I never met a liberal man that looks more like a Nazi, which, that's definitely a line. MJF continues, but we're gonna fix all that, put you in a nice suit. But that whole pipe dream of being AEW World Champion, it's nothing more than a dream. To be a champion, you need to be a leader like me, and you're nothing more than a follower. Which, I mean, I'm not going to say MJF is right, but brother ain't wrong. So, Brody King finally gets some time on the microphone, says, Max, first, I don't follow anyone. I have something called friends. Something you never had in your life. And while you're right, I haven't beaten anyone of note. But then I went to talk to Tony Khan and asked who would be the best challenger to set me up for a world heavyweight title shot. And we both agreed it's you, Max. And try to follow me. Next week, I face you for an eliminator match, and if I beat you, the next time we face, I take that world heavyweight title. In which, honestly, bravo. Nice setup for the match. Although, I do wish something. It's something I've had an issue with AEW for a little bit now. Just having the match announced by Tony Schiavone bugs me. I think they need a matchmaker. Not a GM, a matchmaker. So that big moments like this have a little bit more tension and a little bit more build-up to when it was eventually announced. And look, it shouldn't take more than 5 minutes to do that. And my suggestion for matchmaker, Mick Foley. I'm just saying, let's have Mick. Although Mick would be a good manager for Brody, if I think about it. Alright, anyway, then we go to a weird vignette kind of promo thing from the Young Bucks, saying how they're ditching their more corporate side to go back to a classic, including the tassels and the super kick party. And then the Young Bucks invite the tag division to a future super kick party, which, a little awkward on the delivery, but the message is there. So, Young Bucks want to climb up the ranks of the tag division, get back the tag titles, in which I'm for. Next up is this match. And I'm going to say this. I think it was my match of the night. Maybe my match of the week. Although, there's some interesting stuff coming from TNA. We'll cover that on Monday. As we got the AEW Women's title on the line. We got Thekla taking on Chris Statlander. And like it was revealed in the promo with the Babes of Wrath, they are going to stay out of the match along with the Sisters of Sid. So it's one-on-one Thekla versus Statlander. And yeah, this was an awesome matchup. Really good back and forth. One point we see Statlander go for the Wednesday Night Fever. That gets blocked into a roll-up for a 2. Statlander with a powerbomb hits the Wednesday Night Fever to pick up the win. And then post-match, you got the Babes of Wrath coming out to celebrate. But then, an interesting duo come out, as it's Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford come out on stage. So, yeah, this is gonna be very interesting. Although, I would have hoped we would have seen some fresher tag teams coming for the titles. because I feel like we've seen this matchup a couple of times. And then we go backstage to a Callis family strategy session, in which it's Don Callis in the middle. I think it's Okada on one side, and then Fletcher on the other, running down who's going after what title. We got Okada still holding the international title, Doyle and Davis going for the tag titles. I don't think they said anything about Romero. But the big picture, Kyle Fletcher going back to get the TNT title, which that feels like a step back. I think Fletcher should be the main guy. Although he did say Takeshita was going for the AEW World title, so we'll see. So then after that strategy session, Callis and Okada leave. Takeshita walks in, asked Fletcher, "You forgave Okada?" And Fletcher's like, "Whoa, there was some strenuous circumstances, blah, blah, blah." So this situation is building to something. We gonna see Fletcher versus Takeshita, which, I don't know, I'm all for. Then we get a hype video for Jack Perry versus Ricochet, so that's going to be coming in the near future. Then we get Ricochet, who it seems like commandeered a camera and shows Jack Perry being beaten up by is it GOA or DOA? I forget who it is. Bishop Khan and Tola Leona, hyping him up, throwing poor Jack Perry through walls, and eventually a double powerbomb through a nearby table. So, this feud is definitely building. I'm definitely appreciative of it. Hopefully, whatever Luchasaurus is healing from, he heals up soon. But, this is going to be interesting to watch. We then go to the AEW Tag Team title match. We got FTR versus Doyle and Davis. If you don't know who Doyle is, he is the former Jake Something, signed from TNA. And then Davis is Mark Davis, one half of Aussie Open with Kyle Fletcher. And this was, unsurprisingly, a really, really good match. However, kind of near the end-ish, we had some sort of apron move, and you could tell right after something was wrong, including hearing Doyle say, I tore my shoulder, or whatever he said. So, match finish definitely came with a little bit of a little quickly, as the Death Riders came out, with Moxley hitting Davis with his Continental title with the ref distracted, and FTR hitting the Shatter Machine to pick up the win. And then at that point, FTR and Stoke bail. I was thinking we were getting a big brawl, but nothing happened past that, which makes me think this Doyle injury is a bit more serious. Hopefully, whatever's ailing him, it's not super serious, and he can come back sooner rather than later. Next up, we get an Orange Cassidy interview, where he says, Yuta was absolutely my brother for 5 years, but now he's unrecognizable. He's got that ratty hair, his overlong beard. Then Yuta walks in and says, this is where it's at right now, huh? So what, you think I should have this Canadian tux and this bowl cut? At that point, Shafir walks in, goozles Orange Cassidy for a minute. But Tony Storm gets in the way, says, with Shafir saying, you want some more mother's milk? Which Tony responds, oh, get your hands off my guy, man. Get out of here, Pinterest boy. Which, funny little line. We'll see what happens from there. Although I think we already got a mixed tag set up for Collision, which should be fun. And then we get our main event of the evening, in which I am super surprised no title matches were the main event, but it's Swerve Strickland taking on Andrade El Idolo. And I'm going to say this, maybe I missed him coming out, but did you guys see Don Callis kind of spawn out of nowhere behind Andrade during his entrance? That was weird, right? Did anyone else notice that? Or was it just me? Anyway, this match was absolutely superb. There is not much I can say about it. I'm going to say this. Go on to whatever site you need to. Go give it a watch. As after a house call, Swerve goes for a suplex that gets blocked. Andrade with a low blow hits the DM, which is a very, I guess that's the variation of the DDT he uses to pick up the win. So, yeah, that's definitely interesting. Surprised they gave Andrade that win. I would have think build would be for Swerve to eventually get to MJF. Although I'm not all that disappointed. Anyway, so we go backstage for an MJF interview where he says, "That oversized Sharpie thinks he can beat me for the title. It isn't happening." So he goes to walk off. Kenny Omega walks in, says, "I just want to let you know there's one more week, one more win until our next world title match." So MJF walks off, goes down the hallway a little bit, runs into Andrade, who says, "MJF, I want this," pointing right to the AEW World title. MJF then walks out of the arena. Looks like it's through the front doors, which is very strange. He goes to open his rental car door. Hangman hand pushes it closed. It's revealed to be Hangman Adam Page. He just stares down MJF for a second. Then MJF gets a little scared, opens the door, gets in the car, and he drives off to end the show. So I'm going to say this. AEW has been doing a lot better playing up the connections between their superstars. I think they've been doing a much better job at showing the interconnective relationships to not only allies, but to adversaries, which is very awesome. They're doing a great job doing that. And the wrestling itself, although not perfect, it was really, really darn good. So, overall, a very entertaining episode of Dynamite. And yeah, I'm excited to see what comes next. Because it's definitely going to be a while until Revolution. Got a lot to get through. So, hopefully y'all strapped in for the ride. I'm ready for it. But that'll do it for me. I hope you guys all enjoyed. Please like the video. Comment to me what your favorite either match or segment was from this week. And maybe we'll talk a little later on. And until next time, happy wrestling, everybody. Peace.